Stable Kentucky is a program to help people with disabilities save some money while they're working, but there seems to have been some limitations in the past. So tell me where we're at with that program and how your office is getting involved with that.
Sure. So my office is the one that launched Stable Kentucky. It's an ABLE program, so people are familiar with what ABLE is, and this is Kentucky's version of ABLE. So Stable Kentucky. And in a nutshell, what it does, it's a savings and investment program for people with disabilities. When you put money into these accounts, they're tax-free at the federal and the state level, which is great, stretches your dollar. But the really key thing to it is that you can save more than $2,000 without jeopardizing your benefits. And for folks that fall into this category or in this community, they've really been limited in how much money they can save. And I know it scared a lot of people. I talked to one person just the other day that her son is someone with disabilities, and she's always having to rush to the bank to make sure that he has less than $2,000 in his bank account. So you can save up to $15,000 a year with just a standard, traditional, stable account, and there's some other ways to be able to put more money in it too, which we can go into.
Absolutely. So that's a scary thing, talking about that mom being afraid that her son has too much money in her account or in his account. So, but what does this money go toward? You know, when you can save this much money, what are the qualifying purchases when it comes to a Stable Kentucky account?
Great. So again, this is for people with disabilities, so they are qualifying purchases, but most things are, you can use it for education, transportation, housing, food. You can use it for most normal expenses. The things that you can't use it for would be things you're probably not going to use it for: gambling, alcohol, adult entertainment. Vacations are questionable. It depends if it's somehow beneficial to the person's disabilities, then it might qualify. There's some grayer areas, but for the most part, it's really broad, and most payments that you're going to make, you can make them out of these accounts.
And who are the people that are qualified to get these accounts? Because obviously we're talking about people with disabilities, and the limitation comes from if you're on disability, getting disability benefits or other things. So how does this kind of work with those other benefits?
Sure. So you do have to qualify for one of the accounts to be able to open them. Obviously, again, you have to be someone with disabilities. Those disabilities have to have been determined before you were 26 years of age. So you might actually be older than that. It's just they have to make sure that you had those particular conditions before you were 26. And it's kind of an arbitrary number at the federal level. There's some move to change it to someone in their 40s, or perhaps just get rid of the age requirement entirely. But right now, you have to have had these disabilities develop before you're age 26. And there's a little survey if you're going to open up one of these accounts to make sure that you qualify for it. It takes about 20 minutes maybe to go through it. So on StableKentucky.com, which is where you open an account, you go through the survey, make sure you qualify, and then you can get started with it.
It kind of seems like some people with disabilities who want to work and who have jobs have had to limit the amount of hours they work and things like that to not go over that threshold. So this is kind of an important thing for businesses to understand as well. So how do businesses get involved with helping their employees with this?
Okay, so this is a great area of the law that's just developed in the last year or so. And this is where your audience is going to be really interested. So there's now an emphasis called able to work. So you're using stable accounts to encourage people with disabilities to get in the workforce, and they actually can save more money if they're getting it from their employment. So you've got a $15,000 a year with a traditional plan. If you are doing it through your employment, you can put in another $12,000, just a little over $12,000. So you almost double what you're able to put into it if you're doing it through your employment. And this is a potential game changer for folks that fall into this community who want to be working. And I know there's a lot of employers who want to be employing people and focusing on their abilities, what they can do. There's a big emphasis all over the state right now of making sure people with disabilities know, hey, we have needs in employment, and you can do this. We need you to be contributing in this way. So I really am excited what this is going to do all over the state. This is going to be a great way to just boost our economy and get people working.
Absolutely. So how do employers get involved? From what I understand, there's kind of a four-pronged system to make sure they can get involved with it.
Yes. So what we're doing right now is we're doing what we call Friends of Stable, and we're identifying some businesses that are really focusing on employing people with disabilities, and we're labeling them Friends of Stable if they meet some requirements. And this is just a way to encourage the businesses to get involved, and also encourage people who want to work, who fall in this community, that hey, this is for you. This is a great thing for you to get involved in. So there's 4 things that you have to meet if you're a business and you're trying to do this. You've got to be an equal opportunity employer, of course. You've got to be someone who focuses on people with disabilities. Your HR department needs to be aware of this. They need to understand how it works so they can explain it to the employers, which of course is a key. You got to have at least one person who has a stable account. Makes sense. Of course, we want you to have a lot more than that, but if you've got one, you're gonna meet this need. And then those are the key things that you've got to focus on and make sure that you know how to do that. We are trying to encourage some businesses to open up the account for their employers. It's not a necessary thing, but if they put in $50, then they can open up the account and get started. So that's not a necessary, but that's what we're trying to encourage.
That was kind of my next question. How does someone with a disability open one of these accounts? How would they go about, outside of even a business, how would they go about opening an account?
Very easy, very easy. StableKentucky.com. Like I said, it's got the survey to make sure you qualify. That's the first thing you got to do to make sure that you can have one of these accounts. And then once that's satisfied, you know you can do it. It's a very simple process. We try to make it as easy as possible because you've got people with varying levels of expertise who are going to be opening up these accounts, and we want it to be as simple as it can be. So you just go on to StableKentucky.com, open it up. I think there was a woman in California who has particular disabilities that limit what she's able to do, so she can use one finger to open up accounts, and ours is modeled on that, and she was able to open up the account just by using the one finger, going through the keyboard, setting it up. So that tells you that it's not very hard, it's simple to do. Go to the website, open it up, get started.
Wow, okay, so have you heard any personal anecdotes from people who have these Stable Kentucky accounts, and since these changes have been made where the threshold has kind of been raised and stuff, that has positively impacted their life?
So I've got a great story that happened right before Able to Work got started. So this was a woman who would have qualified for it because she had a job. Her particular disabilities didn't prevent her from being involved in the workforce, as a lot of folks are that way. But she had a special van that was made for her to be able to go back and forth to work, and her van had broken down. And they told her to get it repaired it was going to cost more than $2,000. And she came up to me when she heard about Stable Kentucky, and she had tears in her eyes because she said this was going to allow her to save enough money to be able to get her van repaired so she would have the independence to be able to get back and forth to work. She doesn't have to rely on other people to make sure they can get her there, and her particular disabilities made it difficult for her to use certain kinds of transportation. So I love that story because I think that's a great example of what this can do for real life people.
Absolutely. And is there anything else that you want people to understand about this program, or, you know, kind of get the word out about it? Because I'm sure a lot of people are still not aware that it's a possibility for them to have these accounts, or businesses to have them.
You know, this is the kind of thing you just need to spread the word as much as possible. And we all know folks that can use these kinds of accounts where this would be beneficial to them. So I'm always telling people, please spread the word about Stable Kentucky. Again, those two things you got to remember about them: savings and investment programs that are tax-free at the federal and state level, so you're stretching your dollars. And then the real benefit is that it doesn't jeopardize your benefits. You can save more money. You can put $15,000 a year if it's a traditional account. You can put an additional $12,000 if you're doing it through your employment. So this is going to help so many folks, and I'm excited about what it's going to do for people all over Kentucky.